Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Wilderness Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rob Minturn. Tonight, we're going to be doing a live Q&A. So this question came from John. He's a buddy he's out in South Carolina right now. Paul strained his back, transferring a patient, and he did this a couple years ago, last year. I can't remember. It was a couple years ago or last year. He pulled his back, transferring a patient. He's a PTA, works in a SNF. This is two settings that he's done something to his back, and he's asking. Tomorrow's supposed to be a leg day. Not sure if that's the best idea with the strain. What do you think? Absolutely, I think you should go. One, so you don't break routine. Two, it's good to stress the area a little bit. That's how you get it to adapt and get stronger quicker. You'll just need to modify your movements. I would still suggest doing the same, if not, or similar movements, if not the same movements. Just modify the load. Stick with the same set and rep scheme. If you're lifting heavy, still do your 3 or 4 or 5 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 3, whatever you're going to do. If you were doing hypertrophy and lifting in the 6 to 12 rep range, continue to do that. Just modify the weight so that way you can still do it without flaring up your symptoms. Some flare is fine, but significant flare is not something that you want to do. So definitely go there and load the tissue. Just don't load it so much that you can't walk out of the gym. Low back pain is $1 billion industry in the United States for a reason. It's easy to get freaked out with it, but yeah, don't overthink it. Easier said than done, especially with your history of having issues with your low back. But go there, do your thing, modify the load, keep the sets, the reps, and all that stuff the same. Modify the load so that way you can get that work done and see how you do it. Best low back bulletproofing exercises. So this is coming from John again. The deadlifts, man. I love deadlifts for someone's low back. Might get some pushback from some other therapists and maybe some chiropractors, probably even some doctors on that, but there's research behind deadlifts and low back pain. There's a reason why they use deadlifts in research with low back pain, so deadlifts are awesome. Payloft press is another excellent one for some anti-rotation stuff going on. And then I like the carries, the farmer's carry, the suitcase carry, the 90-90 carries, overhead carries, that sort of stuff. Those are good to do on both sides, but also when you do unilateral, so single arm carries, it's going to stress the core in a different fashion versus to create the counterbalance force versus just the total force of having weight on both sides with the weight offsetting themselves. So I like the suitcase carry. So I guess tomorrow, if you're going to do anything, you could do deadlifts, payloft press. Yeah, you could do deadlifts, some carries, and then you could do payloft press, PALOFF press. Another question from Mom. I get back spasms. Are there specific exercises I can do? There are. It kind of depends on what's going to make you not spasm, but anything like squatting, deadlifting, payloft press, like I said, carries, anything that's really going to load your core. Dead bugs, bird dogs are nice to start off with. Those are good to start off with, but you need to progress from there. So anything that can really load your core and not necessarily flare up your spasms. But then as you get stronger, you're going to have to further progress those exercises. So a consistent exercise routine is going to be the best. What weight do you recommend starting with? So whatever weight you can do 15 to 20 reps is usually a good starting point. So if you're new to exercise or new to a movement, but especially new to exercise, the first 4 to 6 weeks usually suggest someone does 2 to 3 sets of 15 to 20 reps of each movement, just so they get the movement patterns down. And then from there they can scale back on the reps and then bump up the weight. The last thing that someone really needs to do is hammer out a lot of heavy weight right away or a lot of moderate weight right away, and then get incredibly sore and never want to go back to the weight room again. So if you're brand new to doing exercise, or you're dealing with some sort of injury, starting off with 2 to 3 sets of 15 to 20 reps, and whatever weight allows you to do that is going to be a good weight to start off with. So for someone who's 300 pounds and has a physically demanding job, they're going to be a little bit stronger than someone who sits behind a desk and is $180. So who doesn't, they both don't work out, but the person who has a physically demanding job is naturally going to be stronger. So their starting weight is going to be a lot different than someone who's half their weight and sedentary as far as a job goes. So it's got to be scaled to the person. Another question, sometimes my left shoulder is stiff and is difficult to raise above my head, but 10 minutes later it's fine. Any thoughts? Likely just got the shoulder moving and limbered up the tissue. As we get older, our tissue elasticity goes down. Not that that's bad, it's just a fact of life. But as we get older, tissue elasticity goes down, so it does take a little bit longer to warm up. That's why, like when you're 15, 16 years old, you can usually just go out and go for a run and you don't experience any sort of repercussions. But as we get older, we have to spend more time in a warm-up before we go work out to increase the tissue temperature, to increase the tissue elasticity, so that way we reduce our risk for injury. So you're likely just getting the tissue limbered up with the lubrication fluid within the joint, and the tissue elasticity is improving with the tissue temperature improving, and tissue extensibility. So that's likely what it is. Thank you to those who tuned in tonight and asked your questions. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend, and we'll catch you guys on the podcast. We'll be back to the regular format next week. I forget what I'm talking about, but definitely pelvic health related next week. So tune in next week, and we will catch you on the flip side. Peace.